Let the record reflect, we have reconvened with all members present. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance if you're able, and also ask you to remain standing after the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Take a moment to remember Madison resident who passed away over the last few weeks. Lillian Sedano, longtime Madison resident, died at home on July 28th with her family. At her side, she was 94, survived by her daughter Patty Gibbons and her husband Jerry of Madison, and 2 grandsons and 2 great-grandchildren. She was predeceased by her husband Pasquale Pat Sedano in 2002, and also her brother Ralph and her sister Joan. Born in Newark to the late Ralph and Lillian Moore, she was raised in Morris County with her brother and sister before settling in Madison after marrying her husband Pat. Before retiring, Lillian proudly worked at Woolworths in Madison, where she made countless friends in the 30 years that she worked there. She was also a 70-year parishioner at St. Vincent Martyr Church. So let us take a moment to remember Lillian Sedano and pass our thoughts on to the family and friends that she leaves behind. Thank you. Excuse me. Can I have a motion for the executive minutes of July 22nd, 2024?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And a motion for the regular minutes of July 22nd, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion or corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, welcome all. Apologize for a slight delay. We had just an extended conversation that had to wrap up. And usually at this meeting, I talk about what a great national night we had in Madison. But we did have an abbreviated event, but I never made it there. As I was just waiting for the rain and wind to let up, a tree came crashing down on my yard, taking out power and the back of my car. I'm certainly not alone in Madison with having a tree fall in the house and having to deal with the recovery. But I'm among the many people who now truly appreciate the services we have here in Madison. And it's not just what the borough provides, but the caring and support you get from neighbors. That Madisonians always step forward. And with the storm, with that cold front coming through, they were calling for thunderstorms, but not a storm of this magnitude. It came up quickly. Its impact was pretty much in Madison only. And while we didn't have the luxury of planning ahead as we might with a hurricane, we did have a coincidence of having it line up with National Night Out. So while that event was cut short, we were able to take advantage of all the extra personnel that were on site with the support of our county and neighboring towns. And officially, it was not a tornado or a microburst, but a straight-line windstorm with 75-mile gusts about 400 feet above ground. And as defined by the National Weather Service, straight-line winds are thunderstorms that have no rotation, such as a tornado, but downbursts are common cause of wind damage from a thunderstorm, which probably is what took my tree out because it was split in half. One half went one direction, the other half went another direction to spread the pain, I guess. And these downbursts can reach over 100 miles per hour and are caused by the air being dragged down by that heavy precipitation, which we knew was incredible, that you couldn't see in front of your face. So, but whatever you call it, it was scary, dangerous, and caused tremendous damage. At the height of this outages, we had about 2,500 residents out. Some of those 2,500 were disconnected as they were doing other repairs, but 2,500 did feel the power outage. But due to the diligent efforts of the Madison Electric Department, the support from Butler Power and Light, Power was restored to all residents by Friday afternoon, with the majority regaining power late Thursday. And I want to thank, and I've got a proclamation in just a few minutes to thank all those that helped us out. And also with the supporting the swift recovery was New Jersey Office of Emergency Management, New Jersey State Police, Morris County Sheriff's Office, Morris County Communications Center, the Office of Emergency Management, East Hanover Police Department, Chatham Fire Department. I had one of volunteer firefighters stop at my house asking how we were doing. Morris Township Fire Department, Butler Power and Light, which reconnected my house. Chatham Borough, who did a great job of cleaning up the debris in front of my house, so it was a great team effort. Morris Township, as I mentioned already, Milburn, New Providence, and also Pioneer Rentals helped out. And there were some other things going on over the last couple of weeks. Back on July 30th, I joined the Madison Housing Authority staff and commissioners for a visit from HUD Newark field office. They were able to tour our scattered site locations and even tour a few of the units, which is something I had never been able to do before, so it was a very helpful tour. As they said, they spend most of their time with struggling housing authorities, so they truly enjoyed their time in Madison, as they said, with a very well-run housing authority, truly delivering on the mission of providing quality, affordable housing. And our employees for the month of August, tax collector Chrissy Mahler, and our qualified purchasing agent Kevin O'Keefe, and purchasing administrative assistant Stacy Dooley, all three have taken on additional responsibilities while the accounts payable department is in transition. Their continued professionalism has kept the department running smoothly. And before I do the proclamations, as a reminder, this is our only meeting in August. Our next meeting is Monday, September 9th. Where did that summer go? All right, let me just come on down here. So the first proclamation in recognition of Public Works utility crews from the Borough of Chatham, Township of Milburn, Township of Morris, and the Borough of Butler. Whereas on Tuesday, August 6, 2024, unnamed storm, though many residents wanted to give it a name, hit the Borough of Madison with high winds and unprecedented force accompanied by heavy rain, causing extensive destruction, widespread power outages. And whereas the Borough of Madison sustained major damage caused by snapped utility poles, hundreds of fallen trees, as well as power outages caused by downed power lines and damaged transformers. And whereas dedicated members of the Madison Electric Utility, the Department of Public Works, the Madison Fire Department, Madison Police Department worked around the clock to restore power to the borough and clear roadways while ensuring all were safe and all calls were answered. And whereas borough employees were supported in the restoration utility crews from the Borough of Butler, Public Works crews from the Borough of Chatham, Township of Milburn, and the Township of Morris. For Chatham, Milburn, and Morris Township, all of those were done during their regular work hours, so it was gratis and a donation of support as we help each other in times of trouble. So now therefore I, Robert H. Conley, Mayor of Borough of Madison, on behalf of the governing body, hereby extend thanks and appreciation to the employees of the Borough of Butler, the Borough of Chatham, Township of Milburn, Township of Morris for their hard work and dedicated efforts in helping restore power and clear roadways for the residents of the Borough of Madison, with additional thanks to the town administrators and elected officials for their cooperation and support. And we will be sending copies of that to the respective municipalities. And if I can have Rachel Putnam's come on up. And her brother Jonathan is joining us in the audience. He is a councilman in Rockaway. So Jonathan, thank you for joining us. And this is a proclamation for Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month. Whereas ovarian cancer is the 5th leading cause of death among women, and the American Cancer Society estimates each year approximately 19,000 women will be diagnosed with ovarian cancer in 2024, with 12,000 individuals will die from the disease nationwide, including 590 new cases and 340 deaths here in New Jersey. Whereas in the United States, a woman's lifetime risk of being diagnosed with ovarian cancer is about 1 in 87. And whereas, due to the vague symptoms and the lack of reliable early detection tests, most women are not diagnosed until stage 3 or later, when the cancer has already begun to spread to lymph nodes and outside the pelvis. And whereas, although the 5-year survival rate for stage 1 ovarian cancer is over 90%, only 15% of ovarian cancers are diagnosed at this early stage. And the 5-year survival rate for late-stage ovarian cancer is below 30%. And whereas, while a mammogram can detect breast cancer and a pap smear can detect cervical cancer, there is no reliable early detection test for ovarian cancer. And whereas women's lives can be saved through increased public awareness of ovarian cancer and its risk factors, signs, and symptoms. And whereas this month, the Borough of Madison joins all those who are battling ovarian cancer, those who have lost their lives to the disease, their loved ones, our state's many dedicated healthcare workers in spreading awareness, committing to public education, and embracing hope for better diagnosis, treatments, and a cure. Now therefore I, Robert H. Conley, Mayor of the Borough of Madison, on behalf of the governing body, hereby proclaim September 2024 as Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month, and encourage all residents to support the cause that deeply impacts families in every community across this country.
Just thank you so much, and just a couple things that I had wanted to say, and you kind of said them. So ovarian cancer does not run in my family. I had no signs or symptoms. So it is a 1 in 87 chance. I am 4 years out. So I am already beating that statistic, which is pretty wild to consider. I was diagnosed in stage 3. And there was no FDA-approved treatment for my specific type of ovarian cancer that disproportionately impacts younger women. And it is recurrent, persistent, and unfortunately deadly. So I really appreciate you being able to grant this proclamation and bring awareness, because when I was diagnosed, it really, I had no idea, and I was blindsided. And so the more people that I can make aware, thinking that there's no early detection test, just people understanding signs and symptoms, the better we can do and help save women's lives. So thank you so much for letting me be here. Mayor, thank you. So great to meet you in person, too. Thank you.
Dedicating your time
Yeah.
to spreading it. They would stay, but they have to go to Chatham so that Chatham can present some. So. Reports from committees, public safety. Council President Range.
Thank you, Mayor. I know we already talked a little bit about the storm, but I think that's going to be a recurring theme for tonight. Just before I get to the chief's reports, just personally want to throw out my thank yous to everyone who responded to the storm. I arrived at 5 o'clock to National Night Out, hoping to mingle with some folks and have a hot dog before planning board, and ended up at the public safety building for the rest of the night, watching the team and jumping in where I could. So, thanks to Chief Misha and Chief Wickman. The dispatch center got over 600 calls and 200 dispatched calls. Ray and Jim, Michael were all there as well from administration, and DPW, the electric department, the whole gang came together very quickly to address it. So it was really great to see all of that in action. That said, I can never see it in action ever again, and I would be perfectly content. So from the police department tonight, Chief Misha wants to extend his thank you to everyone who did come out and was able to support National Night Out on the 6th. Obviously, the weather, many residents and visitors did actually brave the storm or before the storm and kind of got trapped. And so they had a captive audience there for a little while at National Night Out, but it was really good to see everybody coming together to support that event, and then, of course, what happened afterward. Police Department's looking forward to planning for 2025 already, and again, hopefully not a repeat of this year. From the Fire Department, for the month of July, the Fire Department responded to 169 calls. This included 74 fire calls and 95 EMS calls, where 90 people were transported to the hospital. There were 24 home sale inspections for CO inspections. There were 8 fire prevention inspections performed as well, and the Fire Prevention Bureau now has fire permit applications online as well as the Business Emergency Contact Update form. So this eliminates the need to print those forms out and mail them in, and leveraging some of our existing systems. So those forms can now be accessed via rosenet.org. And as indicated, there were a number of emergency calls on August 6th regarding the storm. The fire department responded to 51 of those, including damage to homes from falling trees, burning wires, gas leaks, and only 4 medicals and not any serious injuries, and thankfully no fatalities related to the storm. So that is really great. The fire department would like to remind folks that a number of the issues that were caused were from sump pumps that were not operational because of the power outage. So now would be a good time to explore other options like battery backups or large battery power generators in addition to gas power generators, so you can run those sump pumps when the power is out. And that's all tonight from Public Safety. Thank you, Mayor.
I'm getting a battery backup sump pump myself. Finance and Borough Clerk, Ms. Ehrlich.
Thank you, Mayor. The Finance Department notes that this evening we have 2 small consent agenda resolutions to insert items of revenue into the budget. These are ministerial but important actions that must be taken. State statute permits modifying the adopted municipal budget during the year so the borough can accept and spend grant monies. Our municipal budget document includes a section for grant revenue and another section for grant appropriations. Tonight, resolutions 236-2024 and 237 modify the budget and establish the grant receivable and grant expense lines. The Tax Department reports that the 3rd quarter grace period ended today. If you have not yet paid your taxes, please call the tax office for an interest figure. The official tax sale notices are going out on Wednesday to residents with unpaid 2023 balances on their taxes and utilities. The tax sale will be held October 3rd. The tax sale process is a way for municipalities in New Jersey to obtain the full amount of property taxes and other charges needed to support the annual budget while providing the property owner with additional time to pay off what they owe. That's all, Mayor.
Very much. Public Works and Engineering, Mr. Lanning.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, first, a little bit more about the storm. A lot of groups have already been thanked, but what people don't see is a lot of what goes on behind the scenes. And this town is fortunate or unfortunate, I don't know, very well rehearsed in it. First, there was the October snowstorm many years ago, which brought down trees all over town and knocked out power. Then came Hurricane Irene, and then came Hurricane Sandy. I was sent pictures of what was going up in the command center, and let me tell you, these residents are very well protected. Everything is very well organized. You can't ask for more. The pictures reminded me of the days in Hurricane Sandy. So we're in good shape here. I just wanted to thank all those people who spent all that time, who really aren't seen out on the road. It was amazing to just see those pictures again. Now for the more boring stuff. Okay, from the Department of Public Works, the Welby facility improvement, is, okay, utility building roof contract with Joseph Doherty. The construction was in March, and the main roof has been complete. Helena Ruman Architects is reviewing submittals and progress repayments. The project is nearing completion. Ancillary items such as louvers and finishes are to be completed. The library interior contract with Dascal LLC. The architect is reviewing submittals and invoicing. The library staff has relocated to a temporary trailer. Work is progressing well. Construction work is approximately 95% complete. Furnishings and restocking of the library materials will take some time. They anticipate opening in the fall. Milling and overlay in 2024. The project contracted to the Morris County Cooperative Purchasing Council. Roads to be done in Knollwood, Longview, and Valley Road. Partial curb reconstruction on Knollwood is being completed early this week. Milling is scheduled for Thursday and Friday, with paving to take place soon after. The overflow parking lot near the dog park will also be paved. The Cook Avenue parking lot, DLS Contracting has commenced construction. Electric Department has completed their portion of the underground electric work. They're coordinating with the telecommunication companies to have them relocate their facilities. They're working with DLS to get them back on site now that the underground electric work can be completed. Dodge Field Playground. The project is moving along very well. Work with the contractor on the fine-tuning some equipment locations. The project is fully funded through several grants. The project has an approximate 3-month construction timeline. That's very good. At the MRC Solar Carport, the project has been awarded to Bullet Electric of North Arlington in the amount of $1,998,500. Contractor required paperwork are in progress. They will be setting up a pre-construction meeting shortly. And then finally, from Public Works, they would like to thank all those municipalities who came in to help on such short notice. This was a huge factor, as they're saying, in getting us a good amount of storm debris picked up and cleared while clearing quite a few dangerous trees. They're continuing to going around town and clean up parks and roadways. This was a big storm, and thankfully the men and women of Public Works stepped up and gave us 100%. The amount of water and wind was astronomical. Unfortunately, we lost some very nice trees, and we'll be working with the Shade Tree Commission to handle the replacements. Thank you, Mayor.
Very much. And utilities, Mr. Howland Putis.
Hey, thank you, Mayor. Welcome everybody from the community. You guys all took my thunder. I was supposed to talk about that with my left. I'll make it short.
So you added some thunder to talk about this.
Yeah, I want to add some lightning. So, yeah, we know we were hit by this serious wind and rainstorm last Tuesday. Like Mayor Bob said, the National Weather Service said it wasn't a tornado. It was a straight-line thunderburst storm. 5 p.m. to midnight on Tuesday, the borough, we got 915 calls, 76 requests on ClickFix, 2,500 residents without power. Hundreds of trees uprooted, roads closed all over the borough, parts of town were flooded. Water rescues, thankfully no reported injuries. One road is still closed, West Lane. I didn't know that, I'm not really sure why, but I'll have to take a walk up there. Many thanks to all the borough employees, our neighbors, Chatham, the mayor already said all that, who provided a lot of DPW assistance clearing debris and roads. The borough operations returned to normal. We continue to clean up the process. We continue the cleanup process. Garbage, yard waste, and recycling is back on track, so I have to take my trash out tonight. Residents should bring their debris to the curb. I think a lot of the community knows this, but maybe there's another way to get the message out to them, because there's still people questioning that. The yard waste contractor is going to pick up small items. The DPW has already started handling the larger items. So for the community who's listening, or maybe the Eagle's going to tell them too, if you don't get your property picked up this week because of the heavy workload, leave the items on the curb. And also, if you see any blocked storm drains, please try and clear any debris off the top of the storm drains. The initial damage estimate to borough property prepared by the state police exceeds $1.4 million and counting. The borough will be pursuing reimbursement from FEMA and our insurance carrier. Federal Councilman Bob Landrigan is a FEMA expert, so he's already volunteered whether he wanted to or not, helping us in the reimbursement process like we've done in past storms. So if our claim is approved, FEMA will reimburse the borough with 75% of the expenditures. That's all, Mayor. Thank you.
Very much. Community Affairs, Ms. Honahan.
Thank you, Mayor. The Downtown Development Commission encourages people to visit Saturday, the Madison Farm and Artisan Market. That goes through December, so keep coming. It's got good energy, good vendors, great music, and lots of community that you may or may not have seen over the summer. Bottle Hill Day is October 5th, and information regarding vendor applications and event sponsorship is posted on RoseNet. The next Downtown Development Commission regular meeting will be on September 19th at 7:15 in Hartley Dodge, and the public is invited to attend. From the Chamber of Commerce, there are 3 upcoming events. On October 5th, the Madison Car Show will take place. October 26th, the Halloween Parade and Magic Show, which is so adorable. And then November 2nd, the Rose City Dog Day Parade. So something to look forward to. And the Madison Community Arts Center, as of July 30th, there have been 980 scheduled events at the center for 2024. The building is well used and operated at 70% of capacity. 4 summer outdoor concerts have been presented, and the attendance has doubled for each of those events, so great community engagement. And this coming Friday, August 16th, a former Madison resident, Michael Gribble, will present a new concert song cycle, A Summer in Madtown. This is the second original show presented in as many weeks by current or former Madison residents. Last Sunday, Nick Kitts presented the Nick Kitts Variety Show. Please look at madisonartsnj.org for a full calendar.
Very much. And Health, Mr. Forte.
Thank you, Mayor. August is Immunization Awareness Month. The Health Department would like to remind residents to ask their healthcare provider if they're up to date with all recommended vaccines. The Health Department is able to offer free vaccination services to non-insured and underinsured residents of all ages. Looking ahead to flu shots, the general guidance is to be seen before Halloween, so you should think about getting flu shots prior to Halloween. The Health Department completed tobacco age sale enforcement inspections, which check for local retailer compliance in only selling nicotine and vaping products to individuals over the age of 21. The department would like to remind the community that New Jersey residents must be 21 to purchase nicotine and vaping products. And this was an interesting exercise where some youth from Madison and surrounding towns went around to these businesses and offered to purchase these products to see if there were violators, so pretty good program. Due to the listeria outbreak, the Health Department has been working with retail food establishments and the New Jersey Department of Health to ensure all Boar's Head recalled items have been discarded properly. Residents who have Boar's Head products in their home should check the recall list and discard any products that are recalled. Residents with questions can call the Health Department. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Any communications or petitions?
Yes, Mayor. Mayor and Council received an email dated August the 8th from resident John Larkin of Elm Street regarding PSE&G's paving schedule at Park Avenue.
Very much. And now this is our first of 2 invitations for public comment. This one is limited to things on our agenda discussion and our resolutions. If you want to comment on other topics, we will have the second comment period later in the meeting. And these are the agenda discussions you may comment on are the Climate Action Committee report, electric utility rate incentives, and electric utility benchmarking. And of course, you can always comment on those later on too if you want. And the resolutions you may comment on now are Resolution 228, appointing Janet Wagstaff to the position of Confidential Secretary for Chief Financial Officer, annual salary of $71,539. Resolution 229, awarding bid for purchase of new unused capacitor bank fuses to Swift Electric Company in the amount of $22,222, funded through Ordinance 29/2023. Resolution 230 is amending the pensionable adjustment appointments of Bruce Barrios, Tom Boylan, and Evan Webb as lieutenants, and it was listed in a resolution 186 as $2,250, and it's $3,000 annually, so that's correcting that one. Resolution 231 is appointing Louis Amarato Jr.'s position of head custodian, annual salary $65,634. Resolution 232 is authorizing execution or termination and removal of a deed restriction of property located at 24 Central Avenue, which is the Firehouse Affordable Apartments there. Resolution 233 is approving special event permit to allow use of Memorial Park parking area by adult school to Chatham's, Madison, Florham Park. These are various dates in September through December after the pool season. Resolution 234 is authorizing assignment of contract for water utility laboratory services with Agra Environmental and Laboratory Services to PACE Analytic Services of Minneapolis, Minnesota. Resolution 235 is appointing James Sullivan the position of Accounts Clerk Assistant to the Construction Code Officer, annual salary of $44,000. Resolution 236 is requesting a insertion of item of revenue in the budget. This is to recognize a grant of $4,200 from the Patrick Leahy Bulletproof Vest Partnership. Resolution 237 is another insertion of revenue in the budget for 2024 of $42,78. Also, same source, different one. And then Resolution 238 is awarding contract to Nielsen Ford for two 2023 Ford Police Interceptor utility vehicles for the police department, the amount of $100,606. And Resolution 239 is approving temporary signs for Thursday Morning Club. And Resolution 240 is approving temporary signs for Madison PBA Local 92. So those are the resolutions you may comment on. Those will also be part of the consent agenda. And, or you can comment on the three discussion items. If you do want to comment on those, please step to the lectern, state your name, your address, and then write the same on the clipboard, and then announce the agenda item or the resolution you want to comment on. Anyone wishing to comment? Seeing none, I close this part of the meeting, and we move on to agenda discussions. Climate action report. Rachel?
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Thank you to my council colleagues who had a chance to preview this presentation and report a couple weeks ago. So tonight's presentation is a really brief kind of synopsis of the full-length report, which is over 40 pages and has a lot of detailed information. So that's going to be published on Rosenet for members of the public to review. But for tonight, in the interest of brevity and because we have a lot of exciting stuff to move on to that deals with climate action after this report, we're just going to focus on the highlights. And if there's any questions, though, from council or members of the public during the second period for comment, the full report has a lot more data as well as some proposed initiatives and actions to consider. Okay, next slide. So the Climate Action Annual Report is a result of the climate action process that was adopted by council, by which we would take annual measurements against several key metrics to see how the borough was doing in reaching its climate goals. The borough has two categories of climate goals. 8 of them pertain to energy, and they're really focused on cutting carbon pollution, and 4 of them pertain to resiliency, which is to mitigate the effects of climate change and to help our community thrive as the climate changes. So tonight's report is a report of our metrics and progress towards those goals. There's no action requested of the governing body in this report. It's for everyone's information. We can see how we're doing and where we need to improve, what areas we need to focus on. So based on these findings, the idea is that the Climate Action Committee will develop proposed climate actions for 2025, present them to the Borough Council after vetting them with the administration and the department heads, and hopefully select some priority actions for the council to endorse and to pursue in the coming year. There are some initial items for consideration included in the full-length report, which will be published online. And if there's questions about those, we can talk about them tonight too. Next slide. Okay, so here's the first of our, as I mentioned, we have 8 energy goals. 5 of them are listed on this sheet. The big one, the sort of overarching goal, is that Madison is aiming to decrease our total carbon footprint by 80%. From 140,000 tons, which is our baseline measurement in 2018, to only 28,000 tons by 2050. Now, I'll mention as an aside that there's been a recalculation by the North Jersey Transportation Planning Authority that based on vehicular travel in 2018, our actual emissions from that year are 150,000 tons, so our new target is 30,000 tons. But we have 25 years, and what's, 2,000 tons here or there. But I think going forward, we're going to adjust this goal to reflect the latest data. The takeaway is that we reduced our carbon pollution overall in Madison by about 7%. However, this was primarily due to the fact that we had a very warm winter, in fact, the warmest winter on record, and we just burned less gas in our buildings. So that reduction is not really attributable to great progress in any of the categories that we're looking at. The other takeaway here is that our electricity purchase, our contracts vary every 6 months, and the contracts that we had in place over the recent year, just use less fossil fuel and more nuclear generation, so there's lower carbon in the electricity production for our town. The next item is our goal was to reduce our emissions from the plug-in electric vehicles in our municipal fleet. The goal is to have 25% of our mileage for our non-emergency light-duty vehicles be from plug-in electric vehicles by 2025 and 100% by 2035. So you can see we did a little roundup here of how we're doing. 9% in our first year. We went to 12.5% of the mileage being with PEVs in 2023, which is a great improvement until you realize we need to get to 25% in 2025, so we need to accelerate to reach that goal. Similarly, the next goal is for town-wide plug-in electric vehicles. This is for all the vehicles in town owned by residents and businesses. Our goal, based on the New Jersey DEP goal for the state, is to have 1,200 plug-in electric vehicles. Unfortunately, Madison is lagging behind our plan by about 15%. It's interesting because we were slightly ahead of the plan the previous year, so there's a little bit of fluctuation, some uncertainty perhaps with the vehicle market and the charging standards. However, New Jersey is on track according to the statewide goal, so Madison is a little bit behind. Similarly, we haven't shown a big improvement in our goals for rooftop solar. Our goal is to have 1,000 Madison residences with rooftop solar generation by 2050. We're sort of plugging along at the same rate. We have 117 total residential systems as of last year. We need to double that rate. Instead of adding 5 to 10 each year, we need to double that to meet our goal of 1,000 by 2050. Our goal for town-wide electricity in municipal, school, and commercial solar assets is to generate 5% of our electric needs by 2050 in town. We haven't made progress, unfortunately, with getting solar on the schools or commercial properties. Fortunately, we are making progress with the MRC solar carport, as Councilmember Landrigan reported. The contract for that has been awarded, and there'll be a pre-construction walkthrough soon. We're excited that we'll be generating approximately 850,000 kilowatt hours of electricity per year with that carport, but it's 0.6% of borough-wide consumption. Next slide. Okay, 3 more for energy. This goal pertains to who we purchase our electricity from. Our goal is to meet or exceed the New Jersey Renewable Portfolio Standard that applies to the investor-owned utilities and use that same standard for our municipal utility. In the latest data, which is reflected in the full report, we can see that Madison's renewable content unfortunately dropped below the RPS requirements, whereas previously we were tracking ahead of the RPS requirements in the previous year. No official framework or formal rubric has been adopted to use the renewable content or carbon content as a formal criteria for our power purchases, which is not to say that it's not a topic of discussion every time we make a power purchase. I know Mr. Burnett looks at this and he thinks about, you know, what's the right balance for how can we purchase lower carbon energy, but it's kind of on a case-by-case basis and hasn't been, we don't have a framework to tell us how much more expensive, for instance, a renewable kilowatt hour is versus a traditional fossil fuel source. So having some information about what premium we would expect to pay would help us make a more formal decision each time when we go out to market for this. The next goal has to do with modernizing our grid. We all know that there's an expectation that loads will increase as people buy more EVs. People are going to be putting more solar on their roofs, installing batteries in their homes, and this stresses our grid. We need to know more about our grid and maintain its high level of reliability as the demands change. So we have reliability tracking in place now, and we're reporting that on an annual, or I think we have semi-annual tracking for that, Mary Ellen? Annual tracking? We haven't yet implemented the phase 1 grid analysis that we presented at the end of last year to start tracking our own grid to see which customer meters were tied to which transformers. We did apply for a $50,000 grant to the BPU to underwrite that program. Hopefully we'll hear back from the BPU by the end of the summer, early fall. We're waiting to see if we can get that money awarded and begin that project. And lastly, for energy, our goal by 2050 is to reduce our use of fossil fuels in buildings by 90% for all of Madison buildings, public and private, through electrification and energy improvements. And as I mentioned, in 2023, our gas consumption in buildings did decrease, but it was only due to the fact that we had a very warm winter. And when winter temperatures are considered in the calculation, the effective consumption actually rose back to 2021 levels. So we have some work to do in that category. Next slide. The slide pertains to our goals for resiliency. And for resiliency, we don't have numerical metrics so much as a set of initiatives and actions that will lead us to increase resiliency in these categories. So the first one, decrease the effects of increased precipitation and stormwater. We all felt that keenly last week. Of course, there's no amount of green infrastructure that could have absorbed the amount of water, the amount of rain that fell on Madison on Tuesday night. But the idea is that everyday storms and everyday nuisance flooding can be reduced by green infrastructure and having a stronger stormwater ordinance. So fortunately, in 2024, we did adopt a new, stronger stormwater ordinance, and we did a lot of work to raise awareness and do demonstration projects. We had the Rutgers Water Resources Program conduct the GI infrastructure assessment that was presented earlier this year. And then there's a demonstration rain garden at the library that is to be completed by November 2024. So there's some real focus on those areas of green infrastructure in Madison, thanks to the work of a lot of dedicated volunteers, including members of Sustainable Madison Advisory Committee. To mitigate increased temperatures, we're seeking to preserve our tree canopy because it helps keep us cool. And in 2023, we did strengthen the tree protection ordinance. The next goal is to identify and address social vulnerabilities because we know that climate impacts disproportionately affect people who are disadvantaged in our community. And one way to identify those members of our community who may be disproportionately impacted through health and the climate impacts of heat and pollution is to complete a community equity and diversity profile, which was completed in 2023. And lastly, to strive for health equity, we have initiated through the Health Department the Health Assessment Survey, and Health Department representative and our SMAC chairperson, Kathy Cacavalli, participated in the Health in All Policies training. So it's a lot of text. It's a lot of high-level information in the report that is also the sort of accompanying work product from the Climate Action Committee this summer. We have 40 pages with 9 metrics and dozens of actions and initiatives with updates. So if you have, let's see, next slide, Michael. Go one more ahead. I'll come back to this one. If there are questions about how we did in any of these categories with specific metrics and initiatives, you can find all that information in the full report. So let's go back one and just do the wrap up here on our 80 by 50 goal. So here you can see in this footprint that we continue to have the majority of our carbon pollution be in this gray area, which is from vehicles, and the blue area, which is the gas we burn in our buildings for heating our buildings and our hot water. And so the key contributors to our carbon pollution are in those two categories. We talked a little bit about this dip here being due to this warm winter we had, and you can also see how in orange our electricity purchase contracts dipped down. We had slightly more nuclear power generation in this contract than fossil fuels. The black dashed line represents our goal, where we need to get to by 2050. We have a lot of work to do, but this is a slow and steady process. If you go to the second to last slide, Michael, just a summary of one more. So Madison is taking those tangible steps. We are, have a series of forward-looking actions that are in all of the categories that were highlighted in the previous slide. And we have made some gains in some metrics. The big picture here is that we need to get this done over 25 years and limit global heating while preserving human safety. So that doesn't mean we do nothing, and then, as I say here, panic after year 24. We need significant, steady, incremental progress, like the work we're doing here in Madison. But these numbers show that we need to ramp it up. Our rate of progress is not where we need it to be to get to these goals. So in 2024, in the next couple months, we'll be coming back to council, providing some recommendations for additional actions we can take and new areas of focus to help us adapt to changing demands on our grid and try to get closer to some of these goals, both things that the municipality can do directly and ways that we can help our residents cut carbon pollution and enhance their resiliency of their homes. So we have a couple great things to talk about tonight, presentations by other members of the Climate Action Committee and other volunteers pertaining to electrification, how we can cut carbon pollution that comes from our homes by incentivizing people to replace their gas-powered appliances and equipment with efficient electric equipment. We're going to talk about energy efficiency that can be understood through a new benchmarking tool. These are a couple of examples of initiatives that have been in progress. Another one coming up hopefully in the third quarter this year is to implement time of use rates. We're hoping to do that in the third quarter after all the software updates have been pushed out to everyone's smart meters. So these are things we've been talking about for some time. These should sound familiar, but some of them are new. Like Tom, you've been talking about incentives for residential electrification for a while, so I hope you're excited to finally hear more about that tonight. The last page is just some references, both for these links are available in the presentation as well as the full report. This is the background on climate action in Madison and how our goals are extrapolated from the New Jersey state goals for energy and resiliency. So I'm going to leave it at that, but if there's any questions about more specifics, I'm happy to pull up data or actions about any of the categories that people want to know more about.
Thank you for the update. Any questions or comments from the council? Tom?
Rachel and Dr. Freed, everybody, you guys put so much effort into this. Tremendous report. And it's very eye-opening to the potential that we have, but also the fact that we're not moving as fast for various reasons. So one area you commented on was our municipal buildings, the town buildings. I know that we're hopefully in next phase going to do some more solar installation. Hopefully the next phase, and maybe we'll discuss this at another time with our ad hoc solar committee, that in lieu of just doing a phase 2 and a phase 3, we just go in with next two, because we had discussed. It's already done. I mean, the nation is already doing these installations. We see them along Park Avenue. So we don't have to hesitate to think, oh, wow, we want to make sure we do it right. We can always go to our neighbors and say, what did you do wrong? That we should look forward to a avoiding when we go and do the next phase. So after we do the MRC parking lot, I think we can just go ahead and finish the whole plan that we had discussed years ago. That was before COVID. When we actually formed our committee, remember that? That was a long time ago. But things move slow in municipal government. But we should definitely be ready. I'd like to see us be ready for that, because it's going to make a huge impact in us generating our own electricity. And you know, you're a very, very small impact with the first one, but the next two could at least make a dent.
So the MRC carport was an outstanding test case. The group that worked on perfecting those bid documents, going through the process, understanding how we could take advantage of federal tax incentives, it was a little bit of a steep learning curve, but now we've got these documents ready to go. We could easily go out with another set, whether we do a build your own and own the PVs like we're doing for the MRC, or do it through a power purchase agreement. One thing we've talked about in the committee is, well, why not get those documents ready now and have them ready to go? And when the chance comes up, we don't have to spend 8 months preparing it. We can just, just issue the documents. And we hadn't talked about doing two at once, but I like your optimism for putting
If we're going to do it anyway, we might be able to finance it or whatever, but ownership is very, I think, much more advantageous too.
Yeah, we saw in the numbers how advantageous that is.
Yeah, for sure.
But the other thing I want to add is that we need to go beyond those 3 carports, and we need to get the schools involved.
Yeah.
Because we got to get, the high school is an outstanding site for solar. We have large commercial sites in town, which our ordinance currently doesn't permit larger installations, like on the roof of a Stop and Shop, for instance. But in order to achieve that goal of generating 5% of our own power, we need to go beyond the municipal sites and reach those other sites.
Yes, certainly the schools needed first, new roofs first, and sure.
Well, what I was going to make a comment on, Mayor, is that we have the consultants who already helped us to prepare everything that we needed to do to get to the place where we could do our own carport. We can offer the consultant services. Maybe there's a cost, but it's a cost that the whole community's bearing, whether we say it's the school's expense or borough's expense. It's the community's expense at the end of the day. And they might not be organized enough right now because they're just focused on doing their own internal big renovations, but we could still, and maybe our consultants have already started to look at the 5 school buildings and see strategically what would be the best to start with and what they might need, like roofs and stuff like that. But we can definitely contribute part of it if it was time, money, expertise.
So Climate Action Committee is working closely with the school to bring them along. And in fact, we're trying to connect them with the Florham Park Board of Ed, who has solar panels.
Oh.
Who can teach us a thing or two about putting solar on our schools, right?
Okay.
So Peter Fried is making that connection like right now, probably sending an email right now from the audience.
Okay.
Because there's 800 schools in New Jersey that have solar, right? And Madison should be one of them.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's fantastic. So how about we want to add more plug-in electric vehicles to the borough by 2025 for the municipality? Maybe the different department heads, maybe they've done this for your group already. What can they say if you put them on task? Give me, 25% of your fleet that you can possibly electrify. Maybe it'll take 2 years or 3 years. So they might come back because the mission is to do that for you guys and for the borough. Maybe they'll come back and say, yeah, this is...
DPW has identified some newer and older trucks that they could replace, up to being creative and thinking about, well, is there a newer truck that we don't need to keep until the end of its service life, right? So there's thinking along those lines. So we got to stay on top of them, but I'm pleased to say that all of the department heads are really thinking about fuel transition and are open to working with suggestions from Climate Action. So they understand the brief and they're trying to do their part.
Okay. And then also to get the plug-in vehicle town fleet up to 1,200 cars. I don't know what the matrix is to say, give a number, 1,200. Do we have 50,000 cars in the borough and we want to have 5% of them as electric? Like, how do we get to 1,200?
Michael, can you pull up that, I know you have that other report.
I was looking through it, I couldn't find it.
It's in the...
40-pager?
Yeah, but I'm going to direct you to the right page. So be expeditious here.
It's hard to drag this out.
My favorite topic, so. All right, that's slide 11. of the full report. All right, so New Jersey's statewide goal is 330,000 PEVs for the whole state. So from that number, we can extrapolate and say, well, Madison's portion of that would be to get to 1,200. That's how we got that number.
Okay.
Like,
It's not a ratio
proportionally.
of our borough vehicles to say. we should-
well, it's a ratio to say how many of those cars would be in Madison relative to the number of vehicles in our town.
Okay.
So it's like our share of the statewide number.
Okay,
And you can see that we were doing better early on. We have some early adopters here in Madison, and then we have been lagging. The state was lagging, 2 years ago, but now they're catching up. So I think, I mean, when you read about EVs coming online and the charging standards and the makers that are going to be bringing out new models, I feel like 2025 and 26 is going to be like a watershed year for EVs coming out of different types and, appealing at different price points. So I think we're on the cusp of I mean, the market's already turned. We already have 5% of new vehicles sold now are EVs. So I think we're going to get there. But whatever we can do in Madison, like incentivizing home chargers for the home, right? That would be one. Just letting people know that there's a reason to do this. And we've done a lot of outreach on this.
yeah, and also to message the community the savings in their energy cost, as far as putting gasoline in their car. If you look at some of the studies for police cars, they could spend $6,000 to $7,000 a year in gasoline and $500 to $800 in electricity, and it could be the same ratio. But it takes some time
Yeah.
to educate people. But I'm curious to hear what incentives we might be able to offer.
Michael, if you just go to the next slide, there's just a short list of, and I'll use this as an example. You can see for each item we have the metrics, and then we have an update on what we've been doing, where we stand. So there's deeper information like this. So there's some suggestions in here, like time of use electric rates will encourage EV adoption because you can charge your car for less if you do it at the right time of day. Right? So
Thanks, Rachel, for
thanks for
listening.
your questions, Tom.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Everyone working on that report. And
Yeah, I do want to thank the entire Climate Action Committee is here tonight. So thank you to Mary Ellen and Peter, Kirsten, and there you are, Kathy. Everyone has been working really hard on this, and it has been a team effort. So really appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Somewhat related, or very much related, electric utility rate incentives. Kristen.
Hi, Kirsten Wallenstein. I'm with the Environmental Commission and the Climate Action Committee. And I'm going to talk about the home electrification incentives. Rachel referred to them. And I guess,
Kristen, can you step
Make
a
sure you
little
stay
closer
close
to the mic?
microphone.
okay, this is going to be challenging. All right, I'll figure it out. Okay, so the Climate Action Committee, we looked at home incentives, ways we could help homeowners who wanted to make their homes more efficient and electrify, make those investments. And just to back up in case anyone is unfamiliar with heat pumps, as I was before we got them, heat pumps are energy efficient, sustainable alternative to fossil fuel heating. So they actually move the heat, and it's a more efficient process rather than taking gas, pumping it from wherever, and then trying to heat the air and fling it throughout your house, technical term. Heat pumps, they work in cold climates. Maine, in fact, is one of the biggest success stories where they have put in 100,000 heat pumps well ahead of their goal. And now I think they're going for 175,000. So residents are able to use these heat pumps throughout the winter successfully. So I know earlier technology, that was a concern, but the technology has progressed, and so they can be used all year around. And I know Madison residents are already using these heat pumps all year round, both air sourced, which, you know, transfers the heat from the air, as well as ground source heat pumps. Not really topic of today, but a different kind of system. As I said, a lot of Madison residents have used them for various reasons, both health, but also comfort, having control, you know, because it's electric. It also simplifies your system. Like right now we have a furnace and an AC, or maybe you're lugging AC units out of the basement. Now you've got this one system and you can monitor everything at once. New Jersey has established the goal just recently of retrofitting 400,000 homes by 2030. And the state is working with 8 other states on the technology, on training workforce, which is a big issue. So the momentum is there. Next one. Okay, just on the left, building electrification benefits. We kind of talked about these, the health and the climate benefit. Improved air quality, of course, is a biggie. Just recently at home, we had a methane leak. PSE&G was great. They came out, turned off the gas. Luckily, it was in the summer because it took a couple days to find the leak and fix it. So, you know, there is air quality issues with, you know, the gas furnaces. There's comfort and control, and then there's a benefit for Madison in electrifying for our utilities revenue. Okay, now I'm going to read a quote. What's that? You want to say?
I'll say this. I just wanted to put
bringing
out there
in a guest star.
that one thing to keep in mind as electrification happens is that if we get to a certain point, and it's a significant point, 15% increase of our total load, that's megawatts, that's a significant increase, that we will most certainly will incur costs from JCP&L to get more electricity to us, the pipes to get electricity to our substations. This particular program doesn't impact that because the vast majority of this, I believe, will be customers that already have a furnace in their house, they're using natural gas to heat, and they have central air already and they're using air conditioning. So many of the customers, not all, but many of the customers will have that. And the customers that don't have that, that may have steam radiators and air conditioners in their windows, even that won't impact us because it won't impact this because our load and our capacity costs and the issues that would trigger this cost are based on summer consumption. And this program is almost really exclusively based on replacing heat in many ways. So this program will not have any impact on it, but we just want to be aware of it if we do, you know, have massive electrification, a massive amount of new apartments, or a massive amount of residents that put hockey rinks in their backyard and start cooling them like we had last December 23rd. So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you for that guest comment.
Yes.
Very wise. You know, and another thing is that this program will start to give us a little cohort of data so we can project for these kind of situations. Right now, PSE&G electric and JCP&L electric customers and all the investor-owned utility customers have access to rebates or incentives for electrification. And what we would like to do is have a pilot program that that brings us in line with those other programs, so Madison residents can benefit as well. Next slide. So these are the details we put together for the program. The incentives are modeled on JCP&L. So if you look at the chart on the right here, you could see what their incentives are, and you'll see that for air source heat pump, I wrote tier 1 and tier 2. That's basically the lower efficiency and the higher efficiency. Just like if you bought an air conditioner, it would have, you know, varying levels of strength. And then there's the ductless mini splits, which are like, you know, those things you see on the wall that, you know, pumps the air right into the room versus going through a ducted system. That's $400, and then the water heater is $750. The incentives would be paid as a credit to the bill. This is similar to what we do with solar today for customers. There will also be an additional incentive. I know this was just brought up for how do we get people to get EVs, and so an additional incentive for EV chargers at 300, and then we would want to look at incentives for low and moderate income residents as well to make sure they can truly take advantage of the program. The budget for the year one program would be $100,000, so once again keeping it limited, and also limiting the incentive to $2,000 per an address, so that we could get multiple folks to participate. Initially, we'll offer it to owner-occupied residents, and then expand from there. The program is in addition to federal incentives. So right now, you can get 30% tax credit for heat pumps federally, and for EV chargers too, I think. Is that right, Peter? Yeah, just say yes. Okay. And then on this side is the estimated revenue for Madison for the electric utility based on the increase in electric usage. Obviously, those are ranges based on kind of averages of electric vehicle use and heating uses. Okay, next slide. So what would we have to do? There would have to be an application process, coordinating with the billing and the construction department, to track applications and the installation. Then we'd have to figure out a way to put the credit on the bill, which, based on what's been done with solar, the electric utilities guy already has a process that we could leverage. And then just promoting the program to customers through RoseNet, through the utility statement, through other online media. And we also have our partnership with Seal Power doing home energy audits. So this would be a great fit because you really want your house to be efficient before you change over to something like a heat pump. Next slide. So just from the customer point of view, in case you're thinking, well, how would this work? They'd apply with the utility billing. The materials would be reviewed, and once they were approved, they go ahead and install the heat pump. I feel like I'm like, did I memorize this right? And then once, the heat pump, all the permits are in and the heat pump's, it's been approved, the credit will go on the bill, and only on the electric bill. It can't be applied to any other bills, so it will just be put on the electric bill. And I think next slide is questions. Questions?
It's me.
Bob? Yep.
Yeah. This is a great program. There's no question about it. I have friends from Europe, and they use heat pumps over there routinely. I mean, this is a great way to go. Is this project going to take into, let's say, cost comparisons? So that's going to drive a lot of people's decisions, meaning I have an older house with gas furnace and air conditioning, whatever. Now I want to put a heat pump in there, that whole new system. What's it going to cost in terms of labor and material to do that versus the payback period with the incentives? Am I going to really be able to afford it? There's the upfront cost, and can I do that? And then, okay, the incentives are going to help, but how long is it going to take me to get that money back?
Yeah, I think it's going to vary, right? Yeah, depending on whether your home is older. Maybe you're just doing a mini split because you're adding an addition, and now we have an incentive for you to make that addition
but I think
electric.
That would be a good, maybe, benefit of this program. Like I don't know if this program offers that analysis, but let's say if I come to you and I say I want to do this, well, you're going to come out and say, okay, well, now you got this unit, it's going to cost this much to convert it, so this is your upfront cost, and now it's going to take you probably maybe 5 years to get that money back. Or do you have the money up front to do it? I mean, those are the type of things that people are going to be battling with.
Right. And and maybe there's an opportunity to work with contractors.
Yeah.
I know Seal Power does that a lot with
Might be
customers.
something Seal does
Yeah.
already that
Yeah.
show you the payback time. I'm not sure, but
And
Yeah.
this other question is for
Rachel.
this guy standing over here. When you talk about increased usage by the town for electric, you know, it's gonna cost the borough more as people convert. What about new developments going up in town? That's gonna drastically increase the amount of electric usage and probably delivery costs.
The new developments would be a bigger concern because it's new.
Yeah.
When you're talking about, taking an existing house and changing it over, and it's already got an electric load, and they're probably already air conditioning in some way, shape, or
Yeah.
form, there's going to be no impact on that, but there will be on the other side. I also want to say, shifting over to the utility billing side, we already do a credit right now, right, for the needs-based electric utility rebate. It's going to be very similar to that. Boom, just drops right on the bill. So that side of it's going to be very easy. The $1,000 credit might take that person a little while to use that down, but they will gain the immediate benefit once it's all installed of maybe not paying for an electric bill for 3 or 4 or 5 months.
Jim, what I
quick
was
question
actually,
while you're, so the intent would be to give the full credit right up front as opposed to spread it out over a.
Correct. The full credit's given up front. They consume it. So that way, it's not a situation where I've got to wait 5 years for $200 a year to get this credit. They'll get $1,000 on their bill, depending on what their electric consumption is. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months. They'll
Simplifies if the house gets sold in between because all of a sudden you
Yes.
have a new
Yes.
account. Rachel, you were going to.
Oh, I just wanted to mention that when you work with a contractor to size and select a system, the first question, speaking for myself, that you have to, when you ask a contractor about a heat pump is, well, what's it going to cost? And, help me do this analysis. So any qualified HVAC contractor is going to sort of work through those items with you. One thing is they will probably not know a lot about Madison's program because it's brand new, and Madison is a little bit of an outlier in terms of not participating in the statewide benefits. So we'll have some outreach and education to do for Madison customers and regional contractors to understand that there's this additional benefit available.
that's why
on the
I like
flip
that
side-
idea for this program, because that gets people to buy in. That's the whole thing, the buy-in process. And if they hear that, oh, they're gonna have, these contractors are gonna do this with you, and these are the incentives, if they find this all up front and they see it's really good, they're in.
Yeah, I was going to say, on the flip side, one of the frustrating things, certainly not being eligible for these benefits almost the rest of the state enjoys, is contractors will make this whole pitch and then all of a sudden get ready to sign a contract. Oh, it's Madison. You're not eligible for these things. So now, at least when they make the pitch, you just have to redirect them to the Madison program instead of the utility-based one. So that will be a big plus. Tom? Is your blue light on?
Loud enough. A few questions and points. So you said something about we're going to roll it out, or this is going to start residentially. I don't know why we wouldn't want to just start it and also offer it to new construction development like the Wykert building that's going to go up if we get him to electrify his building more so than putting natural gas in for his heating, for his cooktops. There's more revenue. No, but there's more revenue. We discussed the revenue option too, so why wait? I don't know why you want to wait, but
So some of that stuff will be resolved at the planning board, where the planning board talks about electrification with the applicant. And I know that's happened a number of times also in redevelopment. That's happened during the redevelopment process. And it's a pilot program. We want to make sure we get it right first. We understand the issues and everything before we move forward and do commercial applications or new construction.
Yeah, I was going to say, and this is an incentive to take the inefficient stuff that already exists. If a new development puts in some non-heat pump equipment, it's still going to be more efficient than what the Conleys are doing on 6 Britain Street right now.
yeah, but we want to make sure that they're using electricity.
Yeah, but again, as Jim said, virtually every application that ends up at the planning board will end up with those sort of requirements.
Sure. But there's not really a lot of information out to the community yet. I don't know how we're going to notify people in the community about this, Jim, but
Yep, yeah, we're gonna have to really push it out.
yeah, it's definitely got to be huge, because a lot of people that are just apathetic about finding out what's going on, right? They're not listening to our meeting tonight.
Yep, well, having it posted at the construction department, so every HVAC contractor that comes in and files for permits for anything will see it, ooh, hey, what's this? Ooh, it's a new program. And social media, everything else, you know, Seal Power is out there already talking to people about conversion. Hey, by the way, did you know you can get $1,000 for this? So,
Yeah, okay. Thanks for all the effort.
Any other questions? I was just going to talk about the messages I've had from about it's time for the Conleys to do this. My wife and I carried the 12,000 BTU air conditioner up the steps from the basement because our damn kids were moved too far away. I sent a text to Rachel saying this is the last time I'm going to do it. And then just to seal it was when the tree came down, the branch went right through the center of this unit, and it sounds like it's time to do it. So, I think what we want to do here, because this is a major program, is we need to tune up to come up with the ordinance and everything, put it in place, is have a motion to support this, and so we can move forward.
so, and I don't think we need to update an ordinance, Mayor, but if the motion is to move forward with this, we can adopt this plan similar to adopting the rebate program that we have done in the past. It's just,
So it would be supported by a resolution to adopt it, which is what we do for the rebate program. Okay. Now, so unless there's any other questions or discussion, can I have a... Yep.
I do agree with Tom. I think looking at developments is important, but I would also look at individual new homes. I think, you know, to sort of go down the road that the mayor was going down with the efficiency, yes, they're going to be more efficient, but you're signing up for probably 15 to 20 years of natural gas consumption when that house is built. So thinking about ways to incentivize those new home builders would seem to be like a prudent move, given the fact that it's probably difficult to get people to convert, and yet you've got new homes going in every day, and that's a major opportunity to get somebody off on the right foot down the path you want to go.
And apartments.
I know the state has, they're working on a new construction energy initiative, unfortunately, probably again for the investor-owned utilities, but maybe we can look at what that is. And
Let them take the lead, and especially since we're talking as a pilot, as has been brought up, and we don't know what the demand will be, but if we can get the lesser efficient ones taken care of when we start. Melissa, you?
Yeah, just anecdotally, when Seal Power comes to your house, they lay it all out for you. And it's the people that I know in town that have taken advantage of that, their minds were completely blown. Like they're all on board now. So just taking advantage of that. I know we had a special letter that went to residents, and I think that really kind of kickstarted some of the getting people involved in that. But this, on top of that, will be really great, because I think that was a sticking point, right? So with this new incentive, it would be great.
yeah, no, Seal Power is very excited to put this out for us. So.
They probably had that special computer set up for Madison.
Exactly.
All right, so a motion to support the program as presented.
I'll move that.
Have a second. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mr. Landrigan?
Yes.
Mr. Range?
yes.
Mr. Harlan-Pudis?
Yes.
Ms. Honahan?
Yes.
Mr. Forte?
Yes.
Thank you so much. All right. Electric utility benchmarking. This is a generational presentation.
Hi, I'm here to present this presentation and a tool that I have worked with Mr. Freed over here, and we've created a electrical benchmarking tool. And what it does is it allows people to see how much electricity they use compared to other Madisonians, but adjusted for size, for home size, because a larger home will use more electricity. And so this is going to be important because it allows homeowners to see if they are doing better or worse than the other people than the average, which will give them perspective on if they need to make changes and possibly motivate them to further make changes. And as this quote says up here, if you can't measure it, you can't fix it. And so, next slide. And so what the tool does is that it compares your electrical consumption to exactly the same size. And how this is done is that we have created a set of percentiles, 75th, 25th, or 50th and 25th, that are based on the kilowatt hours per square footage that the average Madison home uses. And so the benchmark shows the 25% lowest consuming, the 50th median percentile, and the upper 25%, and puts it on a graph. And it allows you to enter your utility account and see how you compare, how you line up compared to the average, or compared to the 25th, 50th, and 75th. And there's a couple of notes. These aren't too important, but it will display your square footage just so you can make sure. And so if it doesn't have the square footage that you have, because we took this off the tax records, and so a lot of the apartments don't have square footage in them. And so you are able to enter your own square footage if needed. And it will not have your square footage, or it will not be able to calculate your percentile if you are a solar user, because the way that the bills are tracked makes it unbalanced. And if you received less than 13 bills, the accounts are not counted. And can you go over to the power, or to the Excel? And so I have a couple of accounts that I'd like to put in to show how this works. Could you put in account number 18? And remove the 1,000, I believe. I guess however this copied over to me.
As a guy who demos software for a living, live demos are always the worst. Don't worry about it.
Try switching the apartment or the home type to detached. However it got sent over, I don't think the form was carried over. Also, the formatting looks a lot better on my computer.
Okay, there.
I want to see mine.
It's not going to work for any of this. I'm not sure how the form. Can you click on the box for January and just see how the form works?
And Sam, while we're waiting, why don't you introduce yourself for a second since you didn't start?
Oh, I'm sorry. I just graduated from the high school last year, and I am going off to Haverford next year. I'm looking to study statistics. And so,
What's your name?
Sam Cohen.
Oh.
Can I come back there? Can I come back there?
Here we go.
Yep.
prior presenter took his father.
So, yeah. Okay, and it looks like one of the things that this will do for Madison, just as we just saw the incentive program, which is available throughout the state except for Madison, when you get your gas bill periodically, you see comparison of similar sized houses. My wife and I own another home elsewhere, get the same thing with our electric bill, and so it puts us in line so you can use that. And I certainly look at that and say, damn, I'm falling behind here. What can I do to do better? So I think it'll be very helpful. Are we pulling up a... Okay.
So here's a video of it, how you can select your home type, whether it's department or detached or apartment, which have different quartile values because they use different values, because they use different amounts of electricity proportionally. And if your square footage is not found, you can use this drop-down menu to select. And if you could just go back and just kind of play a still, put a still of it. You could just pause the video here just to show. And so it shows your month by month how this home is just a random example, how they're above the average, or way above, and above the 75th percentile usage for the winter months, which would mean that they are likely spending a lot more on electric heating or something of that sort, compared to in the summer months where they are not, where they're below the 50th percentile and they're doing well. And this will show them that they need to focus on more, or, well, it just shows them what specific area that they need to focus on. And so, obviously the tool is a lot more cleaned up now, but this is kind of the basics of how it works. Any questions?
Excellent work, Sam. It's incredible. I think residents will greatly appreciate it, and your parents are very proud, I'm sure. Anything else to share? We'll open up for questions from the council. All right. So we'll have this rolling out, and the residents will be able to see it. So thank you. Rachel.
Just a quick question in terms of like how the tool would be deployed. Is it an Excel worksheet that you would download, or is there going to be some sort of like web browser version of it? How would it work?
I believe we would be able to embed it into the RoseNet website, and that would be the plan that we likely go with. just be able to edit those 3 cells that you need to be able to edit, and everything else stays still. And likely we'd attach some possible like tips, like how energy efficient ways to keep your indoor temperatures more stable, or something of that sort, so they can see like the quickest ways that they can make a smooth, at least a small impact, a small dent towards fixing their numbers, or not fixing them, but getting them better.
This is really cool. This is something we've been talking about doing for so long, and for you to come and make a tool like this in one summer is so awesome. So thank you and congratulations. This is really cool.
Incredible. All right, and best of luck at Haverford. They are lucky to have you, and there is a benchmarking tool that tracks how many times you check in with your parents. So we'll be checking that also.
Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent. We now move on to ordinance of hearing. Would the clerk please read the statement?
Ordinances scheduled for hearing were introduced by title and passed on the first reading at the regular meeting of the council held on July the 22nd, 2024. They were posted and filed according to law, and copies were made available to the general public requesting same.
I call up ordinance for second reading. Ask the clerk to read said ordinance by title. Ordinance 26-2024.
Ordinance of the Borough of Madison adopting the redevelopment plan for certain property located at Block 3303, Lot 2, as shown on the official tax map of the Borough of Madison pursuant to the local redevelopment and housing law.
I open the hearing. Anyone wishing to comment on ordinance 26-2024, please step forward. Seeing none, I close the hearing.
Mayor, I move ordinance 26-2024.
Second.
Council discussion.
Just for the formalities, the planning board heard this in a special meeting earlier tonight and referred this back to us, indicating it was not inconsistent with the master plan. And so the next steps here will be hammering out the redevelopment agreement, and then this any project that would move forward on this site would still be subject to site plan approval and review by the planning board. So there'll be additional opportunities to engage in that process as we move forward.
Covering that. Any other discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mr. Landrigan?
Yes.
Mr. Range?
Yes.
Mr. Harold-Lamputis?
Yes.
Ms. Honahan?
Yes.
Mr. Forte?
Yes.
I declare ordinance 26-2024 adopted and finally passed, and ask the clerk to publish notice thereof in the newspaper and file the ordinance in accordance with the law. Ordinance 27-2024.
Ordinance of the Borough of Madison appropriating $120,000 from the General Capital Improvement Fund for repair and replacement of sewer lift station valves and accessories.
Open the hearing on ordinance 27. Anyone wishing to comment, please step forward. Seeing none, I close the hearing.
Mayor, I move ordinance 27-2024.
Second?
Council discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mr. Landrigan?
Yes.
Mr. Range?
Yes.
Mr. Harold-Lamputis?
Yes.
Ms. Honahan?
Yes.
Mr. Forte?
Yes.
I declare ordinance 27-2024 adopted and finally passed, and ask the clerk to publish notice thereof in the newspaper and file the ordinance in accordance with the law. And now we're on to the second of invitations for public comment. This is when you may comment on any topic. Step to the lectern, state your name and address, and try to keep your comments to 3 minutes, but we will give you a 1-minute grace and stop you at 4.
Claire Whitcomb, 12 Fairwood Road. I have just one small anecdote about heat pumps, which I did get. It's not an easy process, and they're not always very knowledgeable people to install. I mean, we had quotes from like the standard issue, you know, the people whose trucks you see with their names on it, the big type ones. And, you know, the other thing is that during this heat wave, when it was 90 degrees, several people, including Bob, your old neighbor, lost their AC, you know, their AC units went on the fritz, the central air. And you're not going to invest in heat pumps, and you're not going to explore a new process. Rachel, I know you experienced this with your boiler breaking. I mean, my water heater went out during COVID, and we waited a good deal of time because we wanted to switch to electric. So, and sometimes you have to upgrade your panels. So there's a lot of ancillary education that needs to happen because people have to be prepared for that moment in August when you're sweltering and you'll do anything to be cool. So, or warm, depending on which part of the season is. And the sad thing is that not that many people are really skilled at it and able to price it and able to like really give you the system you need. And we were lucky because I used Rachel's contractor. So, okay, I'm here to talk about the Drew Forest. Now, it has rained prodigiously, and we can all be thankful for the forest because the forest is there with the dells and the vernal pools and the leaf litter and the trees absorbing tremendous amounts of water. Meanwhile, in the rest of Madison, there was severe flooding. Things are just sheeting off grass. They're sheeting off impervious coverage, and they're going out to the Passaic River. So how much of that intense rain we had is actually nourishing the aquifer? I would venture to say not a lot. So we really have to protect our open spaces, and you know, our tree canopy just took a hit, but we need to reduce our lawns because they're just no good at aquifer recharge, and we have to really nurture our ecosystem, and we have to. I know everybody's working super hard on this, but it's been 3 years plus. We have to save the Drew Forest. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to comment, please?
Kathleen Cacavelli, 82 Central Avenue. And I just want to raise a round of thanks to the communications team here in Madison during the event because if you were signed up for Madison Alerts, you got urgent phone calls, et cetera, and if you follow social media, I just really compliment the communications team because every time I turned around, there was another Facebook post telling me which roads were closed, telling me, you know, to stay inside and you know, all those things that we needed to know, which power, you know, where the power outages were and the fact that they were working on it. So just my compliments to the communications team.
Thank you very much, Kathy. I appreciate you sharing that because it's recovery, the restoring power, the cleaning the streets, it is what it is, but it's what people find out about what's going on that makes them appreciate it.
So I also encourage everyone to be on the alert system.
Yep. Anyone else wishing to comment, please step forward. Seeing none, I close this part of the meeting, and we move on to introduction of ordinances, which there are none, so we move on to consent agenda resolutions. Clerk, please read the statement.
Consent agenda resolutions will be enacted with a single motion. Any resolution requiring expenditure is supported by a certification of availability of funds. Any resolution requiring discussion will be removed from the consent agenda. All resolutions will be reflected in full in the minutes.
Mayor, move the consent agenda. Resolutions are 228-2024 through 240-2024.
Second.
Any council discussion? Roll call vote.
I just want to provide a little background on, sorry, I have to find the number. We are moving to purchase 2 vehicles, R238. The Madison Police Department is going to purchase 2 police interceptor utility vehicles, and because every time we have vehicles up to be purchased, there's often a question about whether they are gas-powered or electric, or in the case of the MPD, hybrids. And in this case, these are 2 gas-powered SUVs. It's not for lack of trying that Chief Misha was unable to get these, the 2 hybrids that were on order. Police Department waited over 2 years to get the hybrids that they were hoping to get. The cruisers that they needed to replace are now pushing their maximum mileage. And the chief is concerned that if we continue to wait with no end in sight for when the hybrids will come available, we will not be able to have the police response and coverage that we need. And so He did reach out and expressed his disappointment that he wasn't able to get the hybrids, but he said he's kept the order open, which is to say, while we are going to be purchasing these two gas vehicles, he hopes to take possession as soon as the hybrids are available, hopefully before January 1st of 2025. I don't know if that's overly optimistic or not. But just a little bit of background, like I said earlier, all of our department heads are aware of the urgency of this fuel transition that we're going through in the municipal fleet. But sometimes the right vehicle is not available at the right time, and this is one of those cases.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mr. Landrigan?
Yes.
Mr. Range?
Yes.
Mr. Harlan-Pudis?
Yes.
Ms. Honahan?
Yes.
Ms. Forte?
Yes.
There is no unfinished business. Approval of vouchers. Will the clerk please read totals?
From the current fund, $1,032,180.67. From the general capital fund, $103,486.07. From the electric operating fund, $300,084.27. From the electric capital fund, $32,929.48. From the water operating fund, $37,340.27. From the water capital fund, $26,385 even. From the trust, $72,954.79. And the total is $1,605,360.55.
Mayor, I move approval of the vouchers.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Ms. Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mr. Landrigan?
Yes.
Mr. Range?
Yes.
Mr. Harlan-Pudis?
Yes.
Ms. Honahan?
Yes.
Mr. Forte?
Yes.
And we have no new business.
Mayor, I move to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.